Hi, my name is Orla McAlinden and I was the judge of this year's June Fest, the first ever online short story competition run by June Fest here in Newbridge in County Kildare. And it was a great pleasure to judge the competition, and I had so much fun reading many varied and very different scripts, all of which had a lot to recommend them. And it's my absolute pleasure now to have a little chat with the ultimate winner of the competition, who came in first place. And her story was very different, very unique, hugely enjoyable to read. And her name is Helen O'Leary. So, good evening to you, Helen.
Hi, Orla, and thanks very much for your kind words. Good to talk to you.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, Helen, before you read us a little snippet of your work, just have a few minutes chat and get to know each other. And when I was reading all the stories, I wanted to put 10 of them together into a short list, and that was very difficult. And I had to read several stories over and over again, and I had to make them work very hard for their place on the list, but not yours. When I read your story, I immediately knew this is going on the short list. I won't need to read this twice. And I think this story is probably going to win. So that made my job very easy. And as I was reading the story, I was thinking to myself, this is a very accomplished and very experienced writer. I wonder, do I know who she is? And I don't. So could you tell us a little bit about your writing experience and what has brought you up to the level where you could submit a story like that and for it to instantly stand out? Have you been writing a really long time?
No, Orla, and in fact, you actually don't know, but you have a hand in my development as a writer.
Wow, in what way?
Yeah, I started writing about 4 years ago. And the very first story that I entered into a competition was actually chosen by you as a winner in June Fest 2017.
You're not serious? Oh, Helen, and I'm a disaster.
And at the time, I was flabbergasted to win. I was truly flabbergasted.
And you won a beautiful piece of bog oak.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
That's right, yeah. But you gave me great encouragement that evening. We spoke afterwards, and you'd written some very kind words on the story.
That's right.
So that was a big part of my writing. I actually developed that story into a book, which I self-published. It's called Heartstone, and it was based on the character in that story. It's a child buried through grief.
This is amazing. Oh, I couldn't be happier, because I remember and there was the beautiful presentation, and it was down in the town hall, and the beautiful prize, and I just didn't put the name together. So Helen, you are now a fully fledged published writer.
I self-published it, Orla, which was what I wanted to do. It was a story I wanted to tell. And I'm not surprised that you didn't put the two together, because this is a completely different story.
I thought you were American, because the new story, as far as I'm concerned, the story that won this year's competition is based in America, in my opinion. And it's so perfect in its use of idiom and dialogue and language that when I logged on tonight, I was expecting to meet an American writer. So congratulations, because that's a very impressive piece of work.
Yeah, I suppose because following that story in 2017, I wrote a few more short stories based in a very real world, and as I say, a child child's grief and that. So when I finished the Heartstone, I suppose subconsciously I wanted to get away from that world. And I had lived in the States. I had lived in Georgia for a year.
Oh, well, it's very, very obvious that you were writing from a place of knowledge. I mean, I really did think you were going to be American when I met you this evening. Right.
No, I had, so I suppose to get away from the gritty, realistic stuff, I started writing a memoir just for my daughter of a time we spent in the States, and out of that came this and another story. So yeah.
Well, that is absolutely fabulous. And could you just, now that we have you and we know who you are a little bit, and we know that you're an Irish writer, and we know that you are scribbling away all the time, you have a body of work written now, would you have a little 2 sentences of inspiration for someone who's just thinking about picking up the pencil for the first time?
Oh, I think keep at it. I think if you have a little voice in your head that says, maybe I could write, I think the very first time you show something to somebody is very, very daunting.
Yes, yes.
But I was encouraged, and then I did a number of courses in Kildare Writing Centre with Pauline Clooney, and then I went on to Maynooth, and I've had a lot of encouragement. But I think you have to persist, and I think if you join a group, I think I got that advice actually when I was starting to write, that you need feedback from other people. And you need encouragement.
Well, I think everyone in Kildare is aware of Pauline Clooney and her great work. So in pre-COVID times, which seems like 100 years ago, were you attending her weekly lessons then?
Not now. No, I had gone on from Pauline, and I actually did the creative writing course in Maynooth with John McKenna and Shauna Gilligan. And actually last year when I wrote this story, John McKenna runs some workshops in, it's called the Hedge School on the Moon.
Yes.
And I started that story down there.
Fantastic. So what you're telling me is that you are better qualified to be judging this competition than I am.
I don't think so, Orla. Not judge. I've read your books, and absolutely not.
Well, listen, Helen, it's been an absolute pleasure to reconnect with you again after 4 years. I can't believe that that you wrote 2 such wonderful stories that spoke to me 4 years apart without the faintest idea that I was reading work from the same writer, and 2 more different stories you could not imagine. So congratulations. And will you now give us just a little snippet, as much or as little as you feel comfortable with, but don't read your whole story because it's going to be published soon in the Leinster Leader, and we don't want to spoil the ending for all the people who are going to read it. So thanks a million, Helen, and give us a little snippet of your prize-winning story, which is called Straightenings.
Thank you, Orla, and thanks again for your kind words. So I'll read a little bit. This is a story about Marcy Roberts and her daughter Junie, and it is really a story about parental love and the hopes and dreams that each of us as parents have for our children. So Marcy and Junie like to go shopping on a Saturday. So I'm just going to start here. Catching her own reflection behind Junie's in the store mirror, she can appreciate how much they are the same, but different. The difference in the tilt of Junie's head, the full-on stare and appraisal of herself in the glass. And what Marcy wants most for her Junie is more of that difference. Lately, Marcy's developing what Junie calls a look. She's taken to layering her clothes, short bitty tops over flouncy skirts that kiss her ankles, tight jeans paired with a denim jacket over a long shirt. The layers chop up her lanky frame, make her appear less than what she is, but not in the old way. As a girl, Marcy had other methods. A sort of lean-to stance, full weight shifted onto her left hip in a way that twisted her frame in a lopsided manner, bringing to mind some sort of daft wading bird. A hunching of her shoulders and a burying of her neck in the folds of turtleneck sweaters. She favoured flats, sneakers or pumps, the kind that Ma said would turn her feet to boats. All designed to shrink her. Standing 6'2.5" in her stockinged feet, Marcy Roberts was the tallest girl in her town. At the time, she thought she might well be the tallest girl in the world, but the Guinness Book of Records informed her otherwise. Not that that was any consolation. "Geez, Barb," her Uncle Todd said when he came visiting, "she's grown a whole head taller since I last seen her. She ain't never going to stop at this rate. How old are you now, girl?" 14, Marcy mumbled, wishing the ground would open up right there and then and swallow her whole. Pa kept a birch cane over the mantel, resting between two brass hooks above the chiming clock and the two china dogs. A God-fearing man, he believed that a regular whipping kept children on the straight and narrow path. Every Saturday, deaf to Ma's pleas, he would take his place at the mantel, the fire blazing behind him, and read aloud from his Bible. The children ranged before him would listen, as in a softer, sadder voice, he listed the transgressions he had stored in his mind all week. "Stable door left open Monday, Joshua. Pail not empty Thursday, Matthew. Rough housing before prayers Wednesday, the whole darn lot of you." "But Pa," Samuel, the youngest boy, might whimper. "Enough," he would say, shaking his head, and they would kneel as one, their little white hands gripping the spools of the straight-backed kitchen chairs. Raising his arm slowly, he would take it down and run his right hand along the length of it, caressing its smooth surface. Swiftly he would deal the blows between bath and supper, leaving plenty of time for repentance before Sunday service. As Marcy grew, Ma, a former hometown queen, found another use for it. Each evening before prayers, she would insert that cane under Marcy's upper arms beneath her bony shoulder blades. "Hold that there," she would say, yanking her shoulders back, "and don't you budge till the clock chimes 7. This exercise of altering her physique was successful, you could say. Marcy didn't straighten. She shrunk inside till she felt smaller than the smallest slug in her yard.
Thanks very much. I think that gives us a really lovely flavour.
Thank you.